So today will be led by myself and my fellow advocates, Holly Beeston and Heidi Napton, and we are thankfully supported by Jenny Barlock, Gentrack, who are one of our Women's Utility Network partners. Just a quick overview on the WUN overall. We are very lucky to have nearly 8,000 members now. The WUN originally was founded because the founders realized in the utility sector there was a lack of diversity and many roles were more male dominated than women, and basically they came together and said we needed a group for like-minded women where we can exchange ourselves and have a network where women can join, stay and thrive in the industry. Since then, it's developed quite a bit, and we hold regular events both in person and over Zoom. We have oh, that was a bit too quick. We have a lot of our partners on board as well. Thank you. So we have 60+ partners that support the Women's Utility Network, and we have a great team of board and advocates who support everything that the WUN do together with the partners. If you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Just a quick overview on what's happening next year. We'll be starting the year with I Am Remarkable workshops. These are really, really good. Keep an eye out for them. The first one is fully booked, but there is others available throughout the year. We then have our first in-person event of the year on the 18th of Feb, Net Zero, How We Get There in Water. That's in Birmingham. So try and get that in your diaries if you like to attend. And then obviously very important to highlight as well, on the 27th of June, we are hosting the second Women in Utilities Award. In January, the call for entries will go live. So if you know someone that you'd like to get the recognition that they deserve, then please do nominate them. And we look forward to a very good second award in June. Obviously, there will be further events coming throughout the year, so just keep an eye peeled on the website and on LinkedIn and the newsletter. One of the things that we do in the WUN team is our series of podcasts. You will have seen maybe today as well that we've launched our video podcast, but apart from that, you can also find our normal audio recorded podcasts on any standard podcast medium, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. There is one that I've recently recorded with Meg Ginsberg from Southwest Water, and one of our advocates, Lillian Phillips. She's recorded it together with winners of the Women in Utilities Award. So it's really worth having a look. There's loads of different content in there where you can get some experiences, hear inspiring career stories, and get some new insights into the utility industry in general. We obviously also have our free mentoring program. This is really good for anyone in the industry that just needs that bit of advice and you want to go outside of your organization maybe. We have over 130 very experienced, fantastic mentors on the platform. And I think I saw something in the newsletter today that we have over 300 mentees that we support. So this has been a fantastic success, and it's free of charge. So if you feel like you could do with that extra bit of advice, then have a look on the mentoring platform. You can then look at which mentor would suit you and start your mentoring relationship with them, basically. And if you want to sign up as a mentor, equally, we're always looking for good mentors. So please feel free. There's always something that you can share probably from your experience. Something very exciting that we launched throughout this year is our development framework. We have already the first cohort of drives started already at the beginning of December. We are looking at the second cohort at the end of March. So if you are interested in this, then please get in touch. The Thrive program, which is for a bit more senior women in the utilities, is launched as well. So again, this is starting as well at the end of March. If you are interested in this, please get in touch. The whole program is really made for women in the industry. It's designed by women and organized and helped by women in the industry that come from the utilities industry. So we've really tried to focus on providing as much content and benefit that we can for women in the utilities industry here to build that supportive network and a safe space to learn and grow together. Obviously, as always, don't forget to join. You will receive the newsletter. You'll get an update on any events that are coming up, anything that happened already. And it's just a way of keeping in touch and seeing what's going on in the Women's Utility Network. And with this, I am going to hand over to Holly.
Hello. And I am glad to be also joined by Jenny Barlow from GenTrack. Welcome, Jenny.
Hiya.
So essentially we wanted to pull this session together because very often as an advocate team, we find that people are attending our in-person events and firstly, the fear comes. Going to your first event is sometimes a little bit daunting, and we decided that we wanted to give back a little bit. So I suppose we'll give a bit of background as to what networking is and the importance of it, and a few hints and tips. And then Jenny's going to open herself up for a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat for now if you have anything and you don't want to forget it, or feel free to unmute yourself when we get to the Q&A section at the end. So networking is obviously you can all read, but the process of building and nurturing those professional relationships. And I think quite often it's something that we don't necessarily think about until we really need it. So it's an opportunity to build those relationships, exchange insights, and we've seen it a lot recently in the energy session that we did in person. Lots of people from the water sector were learning lots of things about the energy sector, and there's a lot of cross collaboration there. And I feel that that will probably be the same when we do the water session in February, I think off the top of my head, in Birmingham. So as well as those longer term benefits of having those relationships that tend to cross paths again later on in your career in different environments. So in a very traditionally male dominated industry, very often we find ourselves in rooms where we are the only women. So we wanted to pull this together to talk about the importance of fostering those relationships and coming together to network. So it's really important not only for your professional growth, but also for career advancement. I think when you start to network with people that have already achieved things that you're looking to achieve in your career, there's an opportunity to learn how they got there. We talked in the career event earlier this year about squiggly careers and how you don't necessarily always follow the same pattern or the same career development journey as others. So it can be great for that as well as for community, both inside and outside of work. I can vouch personally that I've made a lot of very strong friendships and relationships that have not only benefited me in my career, but also I've got some of the best friends from particularly from WUN actually, as a result of it all. So there's lots of different elements that it can help for you. I think when you look at the traditional networking event, typically, as women, we will be a minority in a room. And I've actually had a few conversations with men that have attended our WUN events that have said, oh, it feels a little bit strange to be one of the only men in the room. So that's one of the great opportunities that come with our WUN events. The typical smaller proportion of women in a room is completely flipped on its head. So it's most definitely a safe space, enables us to overcome those biases and gives you a little bit more of a voice in the room. But I think as well, it's very difficult to balance work and personal responsibilities. Some of us are mums, some of us are carers to relatives. We all have different priorities, and that's one of the reasons that we do these WUN for Alls over a lunchtime virtually, because it gives us an opportunity to collaborate, as well as the face-to-face events, which, as you might see, we've been doing a little bit more across the UK as well over this year, and plan to do some more for next year. So hopefully we'll be opening up the geography as well, for people to get together more in person. But it's really important to look at the opportunities that are available to you, not only through WUN, but powerful women in the energy industry, women on water in the water sector. There's a really massive opportunity out there to be growing your network. And I think as well, when you look at the opportunities to get to know people personally, you might then find that there's mentor opportunities, or and not necessarily even a professional sort of structured mentoring situation either. Quite often when you're facing into something and you've got to know somebody through a networking event, it might be that you think, oh, actually, I know that that individual has gone through the same challenges that I have, and I just find that it definitely opens up doors for that too. So attending your first networking event. So I'm going to put Jenny on the spot a little bit here, because she's just recently recorded a WUN podcast. So Jenny, hello and welcome. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about your involvement in that and any tips and tricks you might have for attending your first event?
Yeah, great. And thanks very much for inviting me. And yeah, really pleased to kind of come and talk about this. It's something I'm quite passionate about. I think it's a really good opportunity for people to kind of expand their job opportunities and try some new things. But it is a really daunting challenge. And I'm naturally quite an outgoing person, so I'm quite happy to walk into a room and kind of it's not too daunting to me. But understand that actually for a lot of people, that's a massive step. And it's something they really want to kind of get involved in. But to go from nothing to going, right, I'm going to come into a room of 100 people I don't know, and that kind of stuff is a really big deal. So we've been working with a few people in Gentrack, and one of our members, Jess, has just sort of got involved and said, "Oh, I think it's about the time in my career that I actually want to expand my opportunities, or I can see there's some value in this, and I want to get involved, but I just don't know where to start." So we said, "Well, this is a great opportunity because there's probably a lot of people in that similar zone." So yeah, so we had a conversation with her and said, "Well, you know, what is it that you're nervous about, or what's the barriers?" And it's one of the things she came up with. There's a lot of it's easy to make a lot of excuses, right? It's something you know you should do, but actually you're busy. Everyone's got really busy lives. They've got work, they've got home, they've got responsibilities, and trying to kind of go from fitting all that in and going, right, I'm going to plan next month. I'm going to go somewhere. It's really easy to go. I'll do it next week, or I'll do the next one, or whatever. So one of the things we talked about with her was, it's not. It doesn't have to be 0 to 100, right? It doesn't have to be going straight to a big event. And actually, there's lots of ways you can start to do it. So I think you mentioned about, expanding your profile on LinkedIn, or you could just be even networking within your own business. So go and talk to somebody that you don't talk to normally, or just ask a question to somebody, and starting to kind of build that network internally. And then also joining things like this, right? You don't have to always put yourself in the position where you have to talk to people. So find some kind of online things that you'll be interested to hear about, and just start to kind of understand better what other people are doing. And I think the big thing is that everyone's in a very similar position, right? It's like, not there's very, very few people that absolutely love networking, and it's there are some, and I'm definitely not one of them. So I don't enjoy it. It's not something like, oh great, there's a networking event next week, right? When I get there I kind of enjoy it, but it's you have to kind of take a few steps, and yeah, just get yourself more comfortable with it, and try and find other people that are in a similar position that can kind of, maybe you go with someone from your business, or one are really good. If you're someone new and you want to kind of go and try and step into that new event, contact one and say, look, it's my first event, and I don't really know what to do, and they can meet you at the door. And there's loads of ways that everyone wants to help you kind of get involved with this. So I think it's about kind of having the courage to ask some questions, and put yourself out there a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the main things, isn't it? I think everyone's been there before. Everyone's done their first networking event. And one of the things that we do at our WUN face-to-face events is there are a team of us as advocates, and we all turn up, and there's never anybody on their own for very long, because we tend to spy you out. So don't ever feel like you can't attend these events alone. ultimately feel free to drop one of us a message and say, are you going to be there? And if we're not, we'll put you in touch with somebody that can keep an eye out for you as well. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, Jenny. And I think it's often difficult to break the ice. And I tend to find that when you're looking at sort of how to start those conversations, just going and being wherever the drink's being served. There's always somebody trying to get a drink or looking for a toilet, or you can just start those conversations. And I think it's just being brave about saying, do you know what, this is my first time. I don't really know what I'm doing. Have you been here before? Do you typically like these events? And there's always something that you can find some common ground or start a conversation about, even just how was your trip down here? How did you get here? Were the trains busy? Did you experience any delays? So that'd be like a starting point for me if you weren't sure what you were going to talk about.
Yeah, there's a great tip that's just come through on the chat actually saying about for introverts, practice those, have like 2 or 3 questions, or what's your intro, or when someone says, who do you, where do you work for? Just practice a few bits so that you're really comfortable with those first couple of lines to get things moving, and then kind of take it from there. So yeah, it's a great tip. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And it's right, it's like a little mini elevator pitch. Who am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Fabulous. We got another slide, Karen. I can't remember. My mind's gone blank. Yeah. So I think as well, it's looking at networking effectively as well, because there are so many ways to bolt onto host your first event, right? What's in it for me? Because ultimately, the whole point of networking is to build your personal brand, and to gain insights that will contribute to you either professionally or personally. So, being able to leverage those events, there are a lot of conferences, seminars, workshops that are tailored to the utilities sector, and to be able to go in and listen to speakers and panel events and to really get an understanding of what's happening, it enables you to then contribute to conversations at work or to find out anything more about an area that you might want to explore further in your career. But there are lots of sort of professional associations that you can be a part of as well. There are a number cross-sector, and if I started to go into them, probably be here all day, but look at your niche and where people are networking, where people are attending events. Ask people as you meet people through your networking journey, ask them where do they like to be, and where do they find the events that are really giving them value back as well. As a result of that, when you meet people, very often we find that people are sort of stood chatting for a little while, and then it's, oh, I'll add you on LinkedIn, let's keep in touch. It's sort of that professional social networking site where you can keep in touch with what people are doing and where they are. And again, will enable you to keep up to date with where the people in your world are networking as well. And yeah, going back to what Laura mentioned, your personal pitch is going to be imperative to make sure that people know why you're there and what you're looking to achieve as well. Yeah, sorry, I was just reading Julia's comments. So yeah, there will be other people at every networking event that are there for their first time. And yeah, just go around the room one by one, say hello. Don't be afraid. So again, that there are opportunities to create these new relationships, not only with peers, but with individuals that are potentially future mentors of the future mentees. The cross-industry collaboration that I touched on earlier is really important. There's a lot to be learned from other areas of the utilities sector, and quite often we find that individuals that supply into the sector also come along to these events to learn a little bit more about the industries in which they serve, so it can be really helpful. I think it's really important to be intentional as well. So have those conversations, maybe prepare a couple of questions that you might have for individuals that you're hoping to see there. You might see that people are posting I very regularly will post a selfie on my way to an event to let people know that I'm going to be there. But talk to those individuals that might be a little bit more comfortable with those environments and might just be able to then introduce you to other people that are in your world. And I think one of the things that everyone that is a member of WUN is passionate about is making that change and advocating for more diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's something that a number of the themes of our events do cover. But again, when you start to do it, you get more comfortable. And when you look back, you think, wow, I can't believe how much I've learned. I can't believe how many new people I'm interacting with. And I can't believe how many new relationships I'm building off the back of this. So it's not just about making the connections, it's about creating that sort of meaningful and lasting relationship. It'll empower you, it'll empower your career, and it will probably open up a lot of opportunities for you too. And I think one of the big things for me is you don't realize how much you're learning in that very sort of short period of time, that short burst. You learn a lot, and then you can take that back to your network and your job, and it creates a number of like further conversations as well. Do you have anything else to add there, Jenny? Sorry.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of pressure sometimes to kind of get loads out of networking, right? So there is loads of advantages, and I think over time they kind of build up. But it's not about kind of going in the first, especially if you're new to it. You're not going to suddenly, like the first one you go to, get everything you need, and you're going to suddenly have all these opportunities, right? So it's about kind of gradually building up your confidence. And one of the things we talk about in the podcast is setting yourself kind of relatively small goals. So your first goal might just be I talk to someone at work, and then your second goal might just be that I go to an online thing, and then when you go to an in-person event, it might just be that you talk to 3 people, and you've got no expectations of coming out with like a massive, amazing network. So don't put loads of pressure on yourself to kind of, these are all long-term things that kind of build up over time. And you go to some events and they're brilliant and you learn loads and you meet loads of cool people. And then you go to other events, obviously not the WUN ones, but there's some other events where you go in and you go, actually, this wasn't really the crowd, it wasn't the right crowd I was expecting. And it's not, yeah, I kind of, you come out of and go, okay, maybe I won't go back to that one again. But also kind of realize that, well, for some of these things, right, if you go to it and it doesn't work, then that's fine. You just move on and go somewhere else. Like no one's going to be chasing you and going, oh, well, why aren't you coming back? So I think it's just about kind of really trying to take the pressure off yourself as an individual, and just kind of try some stuff out and see where you get to with it. And then you start to learn, right? Things that went well, that was great. I had a really good conversation when I talked about this, it went really well. Or when I went down that avenue, it got a bit difficult and I didn't really know what to say. So I'll try, either I'll think about that question for next time, or I just won't go down that route and that kind of stuff. So it's all about learning, and don't expect it to be perfect first time. Just try little things and give yourself little goals, and yeah, as you say, measure that success as you go.
100%. And Victoria's just made a good point about not remembering people's names and worrying about people that you might have met before. It happens to us all. Sometimes people will say to me, oh, Holly, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I can't remember who you are, but that's one of the good things about the WUN events as well. So if you haven't been to an in-person event, everyone gets a name badge. It says your name, it says where you work, helps to jog the memory as well. But I think loads of people are very, very similar, aren't they? I think it takes multiple times of meeting somebody or having a meaningful conversation to sort of keep that memory ingrained. But yeah, don't ever feel bad. I always just laugh about it and it breaks the ice massively.
Yeah, and I'm
Like, I
absolutely terrible for
recognize your
that.
face.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's the same, right? And people remember different things. So we had our Gentrack Christmas party last night. You can probably hear my voice is struggling a little bit, but there was people there that I've definitely seen in the office, or I've had a meeting with 6 months ago, and I'm like, I know you, but I don't know you, and I can't quite remember. And it's yeah, but everyone recognizes that that's not a kind of slight on them, right? It's not going, oh, you're not important enough for me to remember. It's just going, sort of recognize you and let's have a conversation. And once you ask a couple of questions, it comes back. And one of the things I mentioned in the podcast is when I talk to someone, I try and kind of naturally introduce myself to kind of start the conversation of this is my name, and then I wait for someone to come back and say, oh, well, this is theirs in response. Or as you say, one's brilliant because you've got the name badges and you can kind of work it out. So but yeah, I think it's just about trying things out, and say everyone's there for the same reason, right? No one's there to kind of be difficult or cause problems or whatever. They all want to just speak to different people and have different conversations. So yeah, you'll find that yeah, I've never had a scenario where I've gone, oh, that's awkward, and like it's gone really bad, right? It's just kind of gone, oh, okay, well, how do we work through this and have a chat? And so yeah, and often it helps if you go with a couple of other people, because you can then kind of you know, someone else might know them, or they can ask questions, etc. So it kind of, yeah, you'll just learn ways to do it. But it is, yeah, it's a very real fear for me. The first time at any networking event, I'm really comfortable because I don't know anyone, and then the second time and the third time, I'm like, oh, I should know you. And but yeah, you get over that over time.
Definitely, and there'll always be a familiar face once you're in the swing of it. And Julia's just made a really good point. When you do network, having those LinkedIn connections and following up the next day with a little message to say, hey, nice to meet you. And you know, conversations can spawn from that too. And yeah, those relationships come from there. And Shauna's just saying a good tip someone shared was, when you meet someone for the first time, when speaking with them, try and say their name aloud within the conversations a few times to help your brain to basically recognize the face and the name. So that's another really good tip as well.
Yeah, definitely. And LinkedIn's got a really good feature where they've got a QR code. So so there's always an awkward, like, oh, are we connected on LinkedIn? What's your name? I'll search for you. Actually, if you go in and put your own QR code in, someone else can scan it and it will automatically connect you on LinkedIn. And then, you know, and then you can look back at your connections the next day and you can see, and obviously most people have pictures and stuff, so you can kind of see and remind yourself of, yeah, who you spoke to and what they do. And because I'm also terrible at which business they work for and what their actual role is and all that kind of stuff. So I might recognize you, but I can't. All those normal questions you ask in the first round, you feel like you can't ask the second time. But actually LinkedIn's great because you can go back and look at those and see what they did. And yeah, so or I ask really generic questions like, how's things going? And then they start to talk and you go, oh, okay, great, that's, I remember now, you work here or you do this thing or whatever it is. So yeah, it's just about trying different things. Yeah.
And that's another really good point by Liz. When you're messaging someone on LinkedIn, great to meet you at X event, and then you can re-jog your own memory when you look back on it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make it awkward as to where was it again. But yeah, that's great. Thank you, Liz. I don't know if I haven't seen any questions come in at this stage. Karen, do we have any more slides, or is this the last one? I can't remember.
That's the last one, Holly. So
Wonderful.
yeah,
So we can open it up to a Q&A.
Yeah, any questions? That'd be great.
Thank you. Is there anybody that hasn't been to a networking event yet and is looking to do that, maybe a New Year's resolution on the horizon? Promise not to pick on you if you say it's going to be you. I'll just look out for you at the next one.
This is my first WUN networking event. So if this is all of the tips and tricks are great for this, but I haven't been to any in-person ones yet. So maybe next year.
Definitely, Emily. Thanks for letting us know.
Holly, I think something that someone said at the last in-person event we had was, you know, even if you don't feel brave enough to go up and speak to individual people or something like that, just putting your hand up and asking a question, all of those sort of things just help, you know, to get you into the swing of things and build your confidence, I guess. And then if you've asked a question,
Yeah.
somebody may come up and speak to you afterwards and follow up with you or something like that. So yeah, and WUN events are really easy to do those things because it's such a welcoming environment, and you know, no one's there to judge. Everyone just wants to make you feel welcome and get you involved.
100%. I'll never forget my first WUN event, and that's why I'm actually really looking forward to the WSP one, because it holds a bit of a soft spot in my heart because it was the first one that I went to. And I work in a small company where I am the only person in utilities, and I was so scared walking into that WSP office on my own. And I remember walking in and I saw a beeline for the drinks. And there was still and sparkling water, and I was trying to figure out which one was which because I was in a bit of a fluff. I'd struggled to park my car because I couldn't get availability, and then I was walking round and round the mailbox trying to find where the office was. And I'd got myself into a bit of a fluster. And I remember standing there, and Kate Mulvaney, who's been a WUN member for a long, long time, she just looked at me and she went, "Are you okay?" I was like, no. And I just told her a little bit about what had happened on my way there, and she was just laughing, and she was like, oh, what do you do? And I asked her what she did, and you know, we've keep in touch now. We added each other on LinkedIn. We talk to each other about different things that are happening in the energy industry, and I think that's where the real connections come. I think authenticity is key, and just be yourself. Like, ultimately, you're not going to get on with everybody. Not everyone's going to be your best friend, but if you are able to be authentic and show up as yourself at these events, it's amazing, like what can be achieved. And yeah, definitely not as nervous the next time round, for sure.
And it can be quite daunting sometimes when you see people in circles or in groups or whatever, and you kind of go, well, I'm on the outside and do it. How do I get in? And it's amazing if you just kind of, it takes a bit of confidence, but if you just walk towards that group and sort of stand there, almost always they'll kind of part and bring you in. And actually, often they're kind of getting to the point in the conversation where everyone's going, oh, I've run out of things to say, and we kind of done a nice chat. And so someone else joining that group actually can be a really nice kind of opportunity. And you might find some people then kind of sidle off from the group a little bit, and other people chat to you, but don't be afraid. It's not, if people are stood in a kind of group, it's not because they're going, we don't want to talk to you. It's because they've just naturally, that's what humans do when they talk to each other, right? They stand a bit closer and they listen and stuff. So yeah, so don't be afraid, and to kind of just wander over and say hello and introduce yourself, because everybody's there to network, everyone's there to talk to people. So no one goes there just because they want to go for like drinks with their friends specifically, right? They're there to learn whatever the theme is, and they're there to talk to other people. So yeah, don't be afraid to kind of wander up to people and just say hello, and exactly say, talk about what you know, which is what you've just done, or how your travel's been, or whatever it might be. People don't kind of want to suddenly know your whole life story. They just want to have a little chat and introduction, and then start to kind of build it from there. So yeah, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
100%. And with the WUN sessions as well, there's typically a panel or a guest speaker, and often I've just realized that I probably should have put some context around it. But what happens at a typical WUN event is you come in, there's sort of a drinks reception and a few nibbles, and then the sort of main event happens, and then there's another opportunity to network at the end. So it might be that you spot somebody that you don't manage to catch in the first networking session, and then in the second networking session you can sort of make a beeline, and maybe you're a little bit more comfortable in the environment then, or you've got something to talk about. How did you find that? Oh, I found this really interesting when I was listening to this panel discussion. And then there's more to talk about then after the introduction. And Julia's just said it's another really good point. For the more experienced networkers amongst us, it's important to be looking out for the people that are on their own and bringing them into the conversation. I think that's another thing that we do need to focus on as a community, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just going to pick on somebody who's on the call who who knew I was going to pick on her. So, Kat,
I know you're going to pick on me.
I am going to pick on you.
Hi, Kat. Nice to see you again.
Because, Kat, you attended your first event, wasn't it, a couple months ago?
Yes, I did. By myself.
Just tell us how you found it.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
There was a team going, but then everyone decided not to come with me to London. And obviously, I arrived at the event, but I did see a friendly face. Obviously, a few people that have left EDF were at the front, and that just started a conversation as well. And then I took a photo. I also posted it on my LinkedIn, which was great. And then I do know that I had Holly come up to me, because the person that is picking on me obviously said that I would be alone, which was great. But what I found about the event and networking with people that I absolutely did not know was also the guest speaker as well. I did make a beeline to speak to the guest speaker, and then there were people around waiting to speak to her, which also then added, there was a lot of engagement then. So and generally you just walk around and you just find, I always find when I'm at a network event, if you compliment someone or if you see something you like, even if they're wearing something, like for example, Holly, you had red lips on. I always wear my red lips. So that was just something as well that we had in common. Even if you hadn't approached me, I probably would have approached you because you had red lips on.
I've let the side down today.
Yeah, you've let me down today. But I always find as well, if someone's wearing a nice shirt, you can compliment them on something completely random, and then just say, what do you do? And say to them you're new at an event. And then, so basically that's how I normally work a room. But yeah.
Thanks, you, Kat.
Thanks, Sharon. Picking. Have a good Christmas, everyone. Bye.
I think I'm just really conscious about timing as well, Karen. So we have the wonderful Heidi who's prepared a Christmas quiz for us. So I think it's nearly time for me to hand over to you. And thank you very much, Jenny, for your input as well. Really appreciate that.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me. It's great to talk to everyone.
Well, thanks, Holly and Jenny. That was really, really insightful. Even for the most experienced people among us, I'm sure there were some great tips in there. So thank you for sharing. So welcome to the quiz section. We thought we'd throw in a bit of festive fun. Don't panic, it's short and sweet. And Karen from the WUN team has done a fab job of putting this on Mentimeter, so it's also interactive. And just to make it even better, it's also fastest finger first. So it's not just about getting it right, it's about the speed too. And there are some great prizes on offer. We've got some signed copies of the book by Catherine Bishop called Make Your Own Map, which ties in really well to everything that Holly and Jenny have just talked about around career success strategy for women. So, you know, no pressure, but the prizes are special. So the idea is if you scan your QR code, which should be in the bottom left of the corner, and add your full name, fingers crossed the technology is as simple as that and you'll be able to answer the questions. Karen has tested this with most members of her entire family at home, so it should work.
Yes, this is a first for us using Mentimeter, so you know, let's see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be okay. So I can see we've got 11, 12 people on the call. So yes, as Heidi said, scan the QR code or go to menti.com and enter the 8-digit code that's on the top there. And hopefully, Heidi, it'll all work okay. If not, we'll just go back to good old-fashioned pen and paper and honesty.
Yeah, we have got a plan B. So, you know, we've got this. So hopefully, if you've seen some names pop up, Karen, we can give this a go. And the idea with this quiz is we're going to match the quote to the individual that said it. So don't get too comfortable because the first sort of 3 or 4 questions are relatively standard. You may think, you know, feel a bit sassy, I know all these answers, but they do get a little bit more challenging as we go. So here we go. Question 1. Once you've put the code in, sorry, getting very excitable about this quiz. Right, democracy is the best revenge. Who said it? You'll have some options. You've got 13 seconds. Oh, not many people got that one. So for the 3 people that did, well done. Benazir Bhutto. And for those of you who don't know, she was a Pakistani politician, actually, who served as a prime minister throughout those dates and was the first woman to head a democratic government in a Muslim majority nation. So super powerful, influential woman. Next question. My favourite, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Yeah, that's a good quote, that one. Eleanor Roosevelt said it, which is good. And for those of you that don't know, you probably do, she's an American political figure. And she served as First Lady from 1933 to 1945. And she did 4 terms in office, so she was the longest serving First Lady of the US, which I thought was quite interesting. The next question.
Nice to see more players joining. People are getting braver. Just remember, it's fastest finger first.
Yes. When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. Who said it? If you think it's hard, Claire, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait till we get to the second stage. Yeah, Malala said this one, and you probably might have seen her on the news recently, but she was the youngest Nobel Prize laureate as well. Next question. It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I will not be silent. Who said it?
You've made this tough.
Mm.
There we go, Madeleine Albright. There we go. She was the first female US Secretary of State, and she served from 1997 to 2001. And I think now this is just, don't get too sassy because there's still some more questions, but this is a leaderboard position halfway through the quiz. The points are just working out. So we've got some front runners so far. So it looks like Laura, Georgie, and Emily are the top 3 so far. So we've just got, I think, is it 3 or 4 more questions, and this is when they start to get slightly more tricky. You might know some of the individuals involved in these quotes. Question number 5. Who said this? So the Women in Utilities Awards this year, it was more than just an event. It was a celebration of progress, a call to continue striving for greater equality. Ah, nailing it. People are reading our blogs. It's a great sign. That was indeed Darren Jeffrey, who is the head of operations for customers at Smartest Energy Business, and he is a brilliant advocate of WUN. He actually recently attended that event, and he did follow up with a brilliant blog, and we have popped the link to the blog there for anyone who's interested in reading that one. Question 6 of 8. At WUN, we continue to learn a lot about women in the workplace throughout their careers and love to come and talk to boards about the reality. For those of us who are brave enough to let us in, I should say. Who said it? Yes, really impressed with how many people read our material. It was Jo. And Jo is one of the WUN founders and also has a portfolio of non-exec advisory roles across the market. And she does really play a significant role in WUN and supports all of the members and advocates. She's regularly at events, etc. So you might see her to network with if you pop along. We're almost there. 2 questions left. Next question. We are facing a loss of knowledge in the water industry and a high demand for new talent, and more women are becoming attracted to the sector. Who said it?
I don't even know this one, and I'm one of the answers.
Ah, you were the top answer, Holly. But these were wise words from Julia. And Julia, who hosted the call at the start, is the MD at R2M, which supplies the UK's water utilities and their contractors. And she's not just responsible for the business, but she also has a wealth of experience in loads and loads of other stuff and contributes significantly to this network. So again, another fabulous person to network with at an event. And I think actually we have got a tie-break question if we need it, but it's looking like we've got 3 top winners. I think, have we? Oh, the scoreboard's having a bit of fun, isn't it? Okay, so I think our top winner is Karen. Brilliant. Well done, Karen. I think we actually have got a couple of prizes, haven't we? So I think, because also, I think the Thinky was the fastest.
I couldn't type my name, so I just went with whatever.
Well, it's worked. So congratulations, Karen, and to yourself. That's brilliant. We've got a signed copy of Catherine Bishop's book, which we'll make sure finds its way to you. So if you want to perhaps hang on at the end or pop your, was that you, Lydia? Sorry, yeah, well done, Lydia. Smashed it. If you just hang on at the end, we'll probably just take your details and make sure we can post your prizes to you. But well done, everyone. That was hopefully a little bit of fun, and I'll hand back over to, I think, Julia, is it, to wrap up the call?
Thank you very much. As this is our festive one for all as well, we decided we wanted also to give a little prize to the best Christmas jumper. So for those who want to take part in this part, we would need to see obviously your fabulous Christmas jumpers, given it's Christmas jumper day. And then I think I need, you know, support of the WUN team to decide which jumper wins, because I think we have a lot of fabulous jumpers on the call. Okay, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. I think we need to have a little conversation, Karen, who we give the best jumper prize to. In the meantime, as well, obviously we always want to have a bit of insight on the feedback on the event, on how everything went. So if you can grab your phones and scan the QR code and give us a bit of feedback on the event today. But also the last question really focuses on what would you like to see in the future from the WUN. So please pop in any ideas, any suggestions, and any kind of, you know, input that you think might be beneficial for us, so that we can make the events next year and in the future in general tailored to what the women in the industry really, really need.
I want to see these Christmas jumpers.
Yeah, we need to. So I've seen, Kate, you have one, and then I've seen Vicky, you have one, and I've seen Juliet, you have one on as well. Oh, there's Julie as well.
And Georgie.
Cats, Deedee boppers.
Okay.
Kat's got the Grinch on her boppers.
Yeah. I was going to place Grinch earrings on as well, but you're all lucky I wasn't in a full-on elf outfit.
Like the other day.
I mean, you know, a full-on elf outfit would have made the decision probably very easy and fast. Okay. I think, Karen, we have decided on a winner. We have another signed book. So for the winner of the Christmas jumper, if you can hang on as well. And I think, Kate, that book goes to you. I think you're muted at the moment, Kate. Can you hear us, Kate?
Kat. Oh,
yeah.
You're on mute, Kat.
Sorry, Kate. It's other Kat.
Sorry,
Catherine.
Kat. Sorry.
Fine.
Sorry.
Kate. Okay, great. Thank you.
Excellent.
I was trying to find you an elf picture so I could show you.
Ah, well. Well, thank you everyone very much for attending the last WUN for All session for this year.
Yeah,
if
can I
you
just
have it. Sorry.
I was just going to say a massive thank you to Julia, Holly and Heidi, our amazing advocates, and all the other advocates for everything they've done for us this year. And Jenny, thanks very much for coming along from GenTrack today. Really appreciate that. So thank you all.
And thanks everyone for attending and joining us on Christmas Jumper Day.
Yeah, and thank you for also, when we have events, everyone should actually and can go alone because you're all wonderful. So.
Thanks, Kat.
Yeah,
thanks everyone. Have a lovely Christmas. We'll hopefully see you all in 2025.
Event. Thank you very much. The recording started now as well. That's great.